Welcome to CSC Movie Recaps. Today we will review the movie Skin Trade. Two men tied a girl's legs together with rope and took control of her after pinning her to a bed. They then injected the girl with drugs, which rapidly placed her into a coma. A wealthy man purchases her as a commodity to be used as a sex slave for the rest of her life. When she finally awakens, she discovers herself in a cage with other girls. They are either duped or sold into coming here, yet they end up being transported as cargo in containers all over the world. It has been in operation for a long time and has grown into the biggest human trafficking ring in the world. The proprietor brings the girls in when a new customer knocks on the door. Jack, the buyer, is happy with the girl and prepares to buy her when a man standing behind him places a gun to his head. Jack made an attempt to persuade him to inspect the products right away so that he might identify him. After being shoved to the ground, Jack unbuckled his belt and moved in closer. Jack took his belt out and attacked them with it when they weren't looking. The boss's men were all quickly defeated by Jack. The boss was eventually left shivering on the sofa by himself. Jack is actually a police officer who is posing as a customer to look into a case of human trafficking, it turns out. He suspends the crook in the air and coerces him into disclosing the precise location of the delivery. After he received a good response, Jack released him and let him drop from the building. This is how a human trafficking criminal should go, in Jack's opinion. Because human trafficking took his girlfriend. It is tough to picture what she went through given the scars on her back. She was sold by her mother to human traffickers when she was 12 years old. She infiltrated the trafficking ring as a child because she didn't want other girls to experience this kind of abuse, and she collaborated with her police officer boyfriend to clear the crime scene. Jack rushes to alert Interpol that the trafficker's boss would be dealing at the pier tonight after knowing the precise location of the sale. In order to catch him, the police set up a trap at the pier. The criminals are terrified as a result of the police assault. Police officer Hans shoots Wayne's son, the leader, dead on the spot during the conflict. Faced with the death of his beloved son, Wayne had no inclination to flee and instead sat on the ground waiting to be apprehended. Everyone is shocked as the authorities open the container on the pier and discover a group of girls who had been tragically sold to other nations after being placed in a container by human traffickers. They all died during travel from oxygen deprivation suffocation, although perhaps this was a fortunate outcome compared to the misery of being trafficked. The gang's leader's arrest also put a halt to the illegal trade in humans. But Wayne was able to have himself released on bail without being charged by using his connections. The police had no power to act despite the overwhelming evidence. He makes the decision to exact revenge on the police officer. Wayne wants revenge as his son is lying dead on an operating table. He once observed a cannon being propped up against the downstairs window. Before he realizes it, a cannon and many guys enter the room. In the end, it was Wayne's men seeking retribution for his son. Hans' wife was murdered first, and then she was shot in the back. Hans was in a daze when he heard a few gunfire at that very moment, when his daughter abruptly ran outside. He was severely injured when he awoke again, but he was still alive. Hans was informed by his supervisor that his daughter was gone and that his wife had passed away suddenly. Understanding this, Hans tore off his instruments and rushed after Wayne to exact retribution. His head was filled with hatred as he observed himself in the mirror. After injecting some pills into his arm, Hans fled the hospital, dodging the nurses. He drove to the burning house, pulled out a picture of his family from the ashes, and put it over his heart. He then removes the rifle from the case underneath the table. Hans wants exact revenge for his wife's murder. Hans follows a tip and enters Wayne's eatery alone at night. When he eventually discovers where Wayne is, he burns down the eatery before fleeing. When the police become aware of Hans's plan for retaliation, his sanity is overtaken by rage. His supervisors make arrangements with the local police to have him arrested so that he doesn't make another error. Jack is the police officer who detained Hans. Jack followed Hans from the roof of a house as he leaped off an overpass and snatched a motorcycle from the side of the road. Hans was cornered by Jack after a chase on a dead-end road, and he pulled a gun on him to force him to give up, but Hans pressed the gas and was ready to flee when he passed Jack, who then pulled him down. Hans threw Jack into a passing automobile after a fight, and Hans then left. The girls resemble caged animals. They are controlled and unable to resist. They are sold to wealthy people by traffickers, who will use them as slaves. They just perceive perplexity and sluggishness on their faces. Besides, putting up any fight is pointless. When Hans gets to Wayne's pub, he finds out where Wayne is. Hans was enraged when he saw the girls in the cage. He wanted to kill Wayne because he worried about what would happen to his own daughter. Hans raced outside while pointing his revolver. Wayne had already set up a trap outdoors by now. Hans found it challenging to venture out on his own. Just as Jack was about to fire, Hans' boss raised his gun and leveled it at them from behind. The two men attempt to first take care of their boss before learning that he is an undercover spy sent by Wayne. Hans is able to locate Wayne after a scuffle, and the superior is shot. The girls are finally set free after they free all of the girls from the cage before leaving. After Jack finds out that Wayne has also kidnapped his girlfriend, the two of them set out to exact revenge on Wayne. Jack shows up with a gun as his girlfriend is in danger. While Hans hides and approaches Wayne, who is preparing to flee, he kills the criminal. Unexpectedly, Hans shoots the helicopter's pilot when Wayne is already inside. The helicopter loses control and crashes. Hans went over to Wayne when he was lying on the ground, not realizing that he was merely acting dead. When Hans wasn't looking, Wayne stabbed him with a dagger. Hans drew the weapon with all of his might and stabbed Wayne. Hans kept pressing Wayne about his daughter's whereabouts, but Wayne refused to reveal anything, even after he had passed away. He just mentioned that Hans' daughter was currently for sale on the international market. Jack now kills his guys and keeps fighting alongside the others. As the others are finished, his girlfriend uses the chance to hide under the car, and when Jack is done with them, he finds her and holds her at gunpoint. For the protection of his lover, Jack was forced to put his rifle down. When he isn't looking, he runs up and fights Jack, but Jack prevails. Hans located the file for his daughter. Hans started looking for his daughter after learning where she was. He is not afraid, despite the distance ahead. Despite the film's lack of in-depth discussion of the skin trade, a few fleeting scenes are sad. At such an early age, the young girls are subjected to such horrific treatment. Do we not see anyone suffering through this in any corners? What can be done to put a stop to it? Please subscribe and turn notifications on so when we drop new videos, you can be the first to review them with us.